that's the story. Let's step back and ask, so what's the main point? And like I said, I don't mean to imply that all the other observations we've made are not valuable, and there are many others. But what's the main point? The one that everything else is supporting and leading toward. And I mentioned as we were going that I think it's in verse 37, because Elijah himself says, this is what I want the people to know. Right? I mean, it's just, not all stories are this clear. But the prophet himself opens his mouth and gathers the whole thing together and says, God, make them know this. Make them know this about all this. So what is that? Verse 37. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, that this people may know. Know what? Two things. Number one, that you, O Lord, are God. You are God. You're not an idea. You're not a memory. You're not a tradition. You're not a religion. You're not a projection of our imagination. You're not a force. You're not an archetype. You're not a symbol. You are God, the living, active, fire-sending, sin-hating, idolatry-destroying, prayer-hearing, personal God. That's number one. Know, make them know, let them know you are God. That's really the basic need of all of us. Number two, verse 37, make this people know that you have turned their hearts back. Or the NIV, you are turning their hearts. Cause your people to know this. So this is where I'm landing here. Cause these men to know this. I think that's God's will for you from this text. It should be my prayer for you. I pray that these men from this story would discern that you, the sovereign God, are the one who turns human hearts to God. So their hearts had betrayed God, spurned God, belittled God, devalued God, loved other things more than God. And this entire event on Mount Carmel is aiming to make God's people know, if anybody turns to God, God turned them to God. That's the point of the story. So when the people cry from the heart, verse 39, the Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God. God did that. God did that. It's true, the Lord rules the fire. It's true, the Lord rules the flesh of the bull, the wood on the altar, the rocks. He rules them. He rules the rain. He makes it rain when He wants it to rain. But this text is mainly about God rules the heart. He turns hearts. The Lord rules the human heart. Answer me, O Lord, answer me, that this people may know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back. Know this, Israel. He doesn't want to just say it's a fact. He wants them to know it. He's praying that God would cause them to know it. There must be a value for you this afternoon, tomorrow, 10 years from now. There must be a value for you to know this. That if anybody's heart turns to God, God has turned the heart. There must be a value, a thrilling value for you to know this. That Elijah would pray it as the capstone of the event. Let him know this. I mean, there's people all over the world who would say, fire falling from heaven, consuming bulls and water and wood and stones. That's impressive. That's not what he didn't pray that they would know that. He prayed that they would know, if your heart at this moment is getting really serious about God, God is doing that. And that to me, I mean, as an American who grew up in the South, where a kind of decisionism was so dominant and rampant, this emphasis was, in my childhood, never heard. When it came to a heart moving from unbelief to belief, you do that. You do that. Nobody stressed, God, do it. Do it in this room. If you don't do it, it won't be done. That's what Elijah is pleading for. Now, you would think that at this amazing high point of his experience, that Elijah had become super confident in God to do his sovereign will among men. But you get over to chapter 19, verse 14. You should read it later today and see what happens. It goes like this. I have been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the people of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword, and I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. You say, Elijah, how can you feel that way? How can you respond that way in view of what you've just experienced from God and in view of what you've just said about God? To which God responds in 1 Kings 19:18, the next verse, yet I will leave, literally, I will cause to remain 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him. No, Elijah, no. I know who are mine. I have them. I turn them. I keep them. You're not the only one left, and you shouldn't be despairing. They're mine. I turn them. I keep them. Now, when I paused here, I said, okay, I think I've got this, that the main point of the story is God turns the hearts of people. What will the New Testament pick up on? And of course, Elijah is prominent in the New Testament. But the main point of the story, if I'm on the right track, verse 37, is picked up on in Romans 11. Paul looks around at his day, perhaps Elijah-like, and what does he see? Messiah has come, and the people of Israel, almost en masse, have rejected him. And he relates that to Elijah's story. So, Romans 11:1, has God rejected his people? He answers, by no means. And then he reaches back to the despairing words of Elijah, Romans 11:3, I alone am left. And then Paul puts God's sovereign words over against Elijah's despairing words, quoting 1 Kings 19:18 in verse 4 of Romans 11. But what is God's reply to him? I have kept for myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to Baal. I have kept them. This is Paul's emphasis. Paul is drawing on the main point of this story. I have kept them. I have kept my people. I have not abandoned my people. I'll never abandon my people. I can't lose my people. I turn hearts. People are not sovereign. I'm sovereign. Verse 5 of Romans 11. So too, at the present time, just like in Elijah's day, at the present time, there is a remnant chosen by grace. Do you see that? See how he's thinking? The main point of the story was, God, make them know that if anybody is coming to God, if anybody is experiencing repentance, if anybody is experiencing a turn in their whole mind and framework, you are at work. You are doing it. This is what you do. And he says, this is true in every generation, Jew and Gentile. That's everybody in London. In every people, there is a remnant chosen by grace. God turns hearts to himself by grace. God keeps hearts for himself by grace. That's what it means for God to be God. Make them know two things, that you are God and that you turn the heart. You are God and you turn the heart. That's what it means for God to be God. Cause them to know that you are God, that you rule the hearts of men, that you rule their hearts, that you rule the families' hearts of these men in this room. Do you believe that? God rules your heart. God rules your children's heart. I have 5 children. 2 of them are not following Jesus. I would give anything to see them with me in heaven. It is no comfort to me to think God's helpless. They're sovereign and he's helpless. That's not a comfort to me. That may solve your problem. It solves no problems for me. My only hope is, God, you rule the heart. I'll go down on my knees 7 times. I will do anything. You rule the heart. Which means you can do it. If you have to do it by my funeral, do it. Do whatever it takes. Because that's what you do. You are God. So I'm thinking your families. I'm thinking your spouses. I'm thinking your girlfriends. I'm thinking your buddies at the pub. I'm thinking whoever you know that you've done everything in your power to show them the reality of Christ, and they're not moving. Don't ascribe sovereignty to the human heart. It's not a comfort.